sit back and get ready to take off with Dynamic Golf. So, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Dynamic Podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim McElvanna, here with Sean Klotz. Sean, who do we have today?
Hey, Tim, I'm really excited about this friend of mine. I feel like we're kind of like the Smartless crew now. Like we start leading up to the guest, and I'm going to start giving you clues on who the person is and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is one of my buddies from the Brandon area. His name is John Catlin. He actually walked into the golf store probably about 5 years ago, first time I met him, and we just kind of instantly hit it off. Good player. He's going to be humble and say he's not as good as me, but he knows that he can take my money whenever. So anyways, really excited to have John Catlin in. Hey, John, how you doing today, bud?
Hey, I'm good, Sean. Nice to talk to you.
Good, man. So basically, me and you kind of struck up our friendship just based on mutual love of the game, right? You've been playing for quite a while, and kind of tell us just a little bit of kind of how you got into golf, how long you've been playing, sort of where you're at now.
Yeah,
I'd love to do that. So I got into golf at a fairly early age, I would say. I mean, if anybody knows much about the Brandon, Valrico, Dover area, the first golf course I played on was Diamond Hill.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And very interesting story about that is my mom used to run those hills before it was ever a golf course. So I have quite a bit of history there. I learned how to play there, but with my dad actually bought me a little half set of Northwestern Bob Murphy Classic golf clubs, little forged blades, and that's how I learned to play. I just went out there in my cowboy boots and figured out how to swing a golf club on my own, and kind of just fell in love with it right away.
Yeah.
Kind of in and out of it for a while I was a youngster in high school playing sports. Really got a lot further into golf when I became a Marine, because I started playing on intramural teams in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Nice. Thank you for your service, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then I played quite a bit for a number of years, and I was a decent player. Probably playing to about a 8 or a 10 handicap, and then I kind of got out of it for a while.
Okay.
And started doing a lot of bass fishing, actually.
Oh, interesting.
And, about 3-4 years ago, I started getting a lot further into it again, getting much more involved in golf, and kind of fell in love with the sport again. And, it kind of took a pit. I'm a big competitive type guy, so if I'm not competing in something, it's kind of hard for me to kind of maintain my focus.
Gotcha.
Correct. Yep.
And so that's kind of the way it was with fishing for me, I mean, I love to fish, but if I wasn't preparing for a bass tournament, it was hard for me to sort of stay in the moment, and actually work. And so, and one of the things that I had done in bass fishing was I had led and helped run some tournament series of 2-man bass fishing team tournaments.
Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the concept. And I said, man, that's a lot of fun to be out there with a guy that's your really good friend, and you can spend some time together, but you can actually try to compete and win a tournament and apply your skills against your friends, etc.
Yeah.
And I said, there's a way to do that in golf, and we need to do this with a 2-man scramble. And I built a 2-man golf tour here in Tampa called the Tampa Bay 2-Man Golf Tour.
Yeah.
And it's kind of built on that principle. And so since then, I've been really deeply involved with it, and just fallen in love with the game, working really hard, have my ups and downs.
You've been doing so this would be the summer coming up, because I know your first event is up at Plantation Palms in March.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is this the 4th year of the Tampa Bay 2-Man Tour?
Third? I think it's the third or the 4th season. We had some split series.
That's right. Okay.
So this will be the we're running our season the whole year this year. We had run split seasons before.
Yeah.
We start in March on the 24th. And then we run 6 events from that point all the way into the end of the year. And then our 7th tournament of the series is the Tour Championship.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's from the kind of inside and outside perspective, meaning that me and T Mac have run plenty of golf tournaments, and whether it's the Zephyril's Open or just running charity events, the David Ruderman tournament and Charity Foundation was a big one. Some of our listeners know, but some of our listeners don't know how much work goes into
behind the scenes.
And I mean, me and you were on the first tee one day, like getting ready, and the guys are either showing up with a different partner or whatever, right?
Or didn't show up at all.
Yeah. But I mean, you do such a good job now, and it's also the thing that I've seen in the 3 years that I've seen it is that the following is bigger.
Yeah.
The guys become more. They're spreading the word for you, which is what you want, right? That's the whole key.
Yeah.
You can only do so much marketing and advertising, but once they figure out that it's a good event, that it's, I'm going to use these words, reputable, honest, and competitive, because there are definitely some events out there that are not those three things. You're looking for the guys, that are and the thing I like about the tour too, John, is that with the handicap allocations that you do, and we don't need to get on the micro part of it, but basically it's very competitive. There's different winners each week. It's not the same winners, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what we try to do is, when you first come to the tour, you're going to play off of a calculated initial index, right, which we base off of your individual handicaps and some formulas that we apply to it that I won't dig into.
Yep. Okay.
But after that first event, you really you're playing off of the handicap that you legitimately earned in our competitions.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right? Yep.
So, so it does make it very tight, and it's not uncommon for a dozen teams to be competing for a podium finish and finish within a stroke of each other.
Yep. I've seen that in almost every event.
That's real competitive there.
Yeah, and different handicaps. Like some of those guys are plus twos, and some of those guys are 5 handicaps, and they're again because of the fairness, equality that you come in. So that's what I like about it, and then. Me and T-Mac have talked about this in other podcasts. When you're playing for yourself, there's one kind of competitive level. Yeah. When you're missing a putt for another guy,
it's much different.
It's so much more stressful, isn't it?
Yes. You want to play for your team,
right? I think we put that pressure on ourselves. I do with my buddy Crump all the time, and T-Mac's got a good friend of his name is Voss, and we play in some stuff up here. But it's almost like you just don't care as much when it's your own ball,
right?
But when you're playing with your partner, and I'm sure that's the same for fishing too, it changes the dynamic.
For sure.
Every cast counts when you're fishing, and every swing counts.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to let your buddy down, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
fun.
It's 2-man best ball is what the format is.
Scramble. Yeah.
Sorry, scramble.
Okay.
You know what's fun about that? You know what's fun about this format that I've figured out is really one of the most fun parts about this 2-man format. Most of us who play golf love the idea, or at least, I don't know what the right word is, but we dream some days about having a caddy, right? Like, man, let's go out and play a competitive event. Let me have a caddy on my bag. Help me
walk it, all that good stuff.
Right? Well, a 4-man scramble is kind of a hit and giggle. That doesn't even matter, right? You're buying mulligans and everything else. But in a 2-man scramble, it's actually quite hard to score.
Yes.
Yep.
And having that buddy next to you who's not just a partner, but almost acts as a caddy to help, club and think through things, it raises your sense of awareness on the mental game that I think has helped me a lot.
Yeah, the strategy of it, T-Mac, playing 2-player scramble.
Absolutely.
Right? So if me and you are going to go do that, I might be the guy who hits the hybrid down the middle and then let you hit driver.
Yeah,
and vice versa, because you just want to get a ball and play on the narrow hole. Yep.
And I'm sure that you and Ron have a certain batting order, I would say. I know me and Boz always goes first, I always go second.
Yep.
And there's always, there's always a strategy. There's always a routine for it, and you're always talking about what the next player needs to be doing. They're helping them out.
Yeah.
It's funny too, even like putting. So when me and Ron, when we go through it, and typically that's, I go first, Ron goes second. Arguably, he's a better player. He wouldn't argue with that at all. But
no, not wrong.
He would say, but when you're putting, when you're only, let's say, 2 under through the first 9 holes, you know what? You just say, hey, let's change it up. Let's change it up, because that's something almost like a good lesson for our golfers in general. Yeah. If you keep doing it the same way, then do something different.
Yeah. Right? Didn't Martin Hall say something like that? If you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting what you keep getting, or something like that?
Myself personally, I'm gonna go left hand low on the putter on the back nine if I haven't made any putts.
The claw
on the front nine, whatever. Yeah. Right? You just and just even that mental different approach changes your attitude, your mental part of it. So,
you were mentioning putting there. I thought it was an interesting lesson I learned 2 days ago on the putting green for myself.
Yep.
I have been struggling. My handicap has come down quite a bit over the past year, but I've been struggling of late with speed control.
Okay.
And I decided the other day to go out on the green and practice, and I realized that I made a change in the actual physical grip on my putter a while back.
Oh yeah.
And it caused me to stop running my index fingers down the shaft.
Okay.
Now, some people will recommend against this. Some people recommend to do it, but I think it's all an individual and what you're comfortable with. But
Correct.
But what was happening for me was when I stopped doing that, the putter would load on the backswing and cause me to slap at the ball at the bottom of the arc. And I was inconsistent all of a sudden with my distance control.
Okay.
And I realized that it's because I couldn't, the way I'm a very handsy player. Sean has instructed me before. He knows I've a lot of hands in my golf swing.
Good and bad.
And, and so it caused me to just overload the putter and slap at the ball. And once I put those fingers down the shaft, it kept that from happening. And my speed control is coming back. And that's just because I decided I had to change something. Right?
Yeah.
And went back to what was not broken before,
So I'm going to ask this question. I didn't have this one planned. So T-Mac, if you're going to teach one of your students speed control, or try to make them not three putt as much, just give me one or two of those kind of swing thoughts or even approaches to it that you would kind of get your student to work with.
Typically what I do for speed control, especially with distance putts, is I will putt to the edges. I'm not putting to a cup.
Okay.
I'm trying to take a result out of it.
Yep.
Just trying to get a pace or a feel.
Yeah.
And that's really what I kind of do for pace control.
Yeah.
And I'm just three balls, and I'm trying to get each one as close to that apron as possible. And I just find that once I get the element of a hole out of it, I start to free myself up.
I think that's a huge point, is that, people on the practice green putt two holes.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You go to a tour event, they don't putt to a hole. They throw a disc down. They do. You do see a lot of they putt to a tee.
Yeah.
You do see a lot of them playing that almost pool like bumper drill, which is essentially hit it to the edge, but you're going to get penalized if you hit it to the fringe.
Correct.
And that's just a great way to learn feel. And then here's my backward reasoning for asking this question to John. I'm glad he brought it up, and now you, T-Mac. If I teach distance control to my students, I tell them to walk the putt off, right? To measure the putt, take the paces, and go figure out most of us have, whatever, our pace would probably be close to a yard as we walk. So if you take 8 paces to the hole, then that's 24 feet. And then if you go to the next hole and you took 10 paces, you got 30 feet.
Great point.
You start having a number in your head. So my point of this, John, is we got 3 different people, 3 different skill levels, and we're all kind of approaching the game differently, talking about it a little differently. But we all learn from each other, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's what you're saying. That's the cool thing about the tour. Is that, like you said, you got A player and B player, and there's going to be sort of that caddy element. With me and Crump, we might be more A and A players. With Mike Sullivan and Carl Sullivan, they might be more A and A players. But but you definitely, in your pairings, you definitely see the A and B player, and I think that's
and that's something I try to do. Is I try to not pair up teams that are of like a higher handicap team. I won't pair them with another high handicap team.
Right.
For one reason, I don't want the play to get kind of clogged up and gumped up.
Yep.
But it's also really important that those less skilled players or less experienced players are seeing really good golfers move through that hole, because and what you actually see is how much better those guys become over the course of the year together, by just playing the tournament, right? And seeing other players, and then you'll be on the tee with them, and they'll say, I played with Carl and Mike, and it was something I noticed about the way they played. This was interesting what he did, right? And it is help. Any kind of competition is like that.
And I think that's a great point to bring up, is that I think for me and Sean, when we go and watch tour events, it's something sparks inside of us when we come back out and play, and there's a tempo, a rhythm, and I think there's a great learning process for everybody there, especially for the B player to learn from that. That's great.
I could just stand on the range at Bay Hill for hours. I don't even, people say, you go to the Valspar, and Valspar is great. It's a great tournament. It's a great finishing last 4 or 5 holes, but the range is not as good as Bay Hill.
No.
And Augusta is amazing, just for people that are lucky enough to get to Augusta. But I just love going to watch the short game area, seeing what VJ Singh, dating myself a little bit, was working on. He was out there for 3 hours at Augusta, and guess what? He only hit 50-yard wedge shots for 3 hours. But the tempo was absolutely amazing.
And you take that home with you. It kind of drips onto your game a little bit too.
So then, John, the other thing I've encountered in your tour is, and me and T-Mac have this all the time in our events up here. So you put me and Crump with 2 other players, absolutely fine, love, and all the guys are great, right? But throughout that round, it will be, oh my gosh, this is the best we've ever played. I can't believe we're playing that good.
The miracle round.
You hear all that.
But you know that. But John, the reason they're doing that is because they're watching other better players. They're focusing. They're not playing with their buddies on the, like you said, 4-player hit and giggle scramble, right? They've really decided to change the focus, and they realize, oh, well, if I take my little extra time, or if I spend a little extra time reading a putt, they're going to start. So I think that's a good, side event of it.
Well,
I think the mental game is way understated. Sean, you and I have talked about this, how much that's meant to me over the past year.
Yeah, let our listeners know about that a little bit, because I think it's a great story that we were talking about the other day.
So several years ago, I was promoted at work to associate vice president, and as part of that promotion, I wanted to. I feel like I've always been a pretty good leader, being a former Marine and learning all I've learned from what I believe is the best leadership school in the world. But always when you reach another level, you're always trying to fine tune yourself, right? And it's just like in golf, you're trying to get better at your craft. And so I hired not a life coach, but what we would call an executive coach.
Okay.
And she really, when you do something like that, it's more like a mental game coach in golf. You got to be willing to do some soul searching, right? And you got to be willing to sort of bare your soul and be vulnerable, as she would say.
Yep.
And I'm an emotional person, right? I'm also a fixer and a rescuer. I have a lot of different traits in my personality.
Right.
Okay.
And she said, what you need to do is you need to start thinking about becoming a little bit more present and in the moment, so you can, kind of communicate in the way that you would want. And it's in various different situations. Maybe it's a situation where I feel, I'm not being heard or listened to or whatever it might be. And so she gave me these three mental checks. They're not really mental, but they're sort of presence checks, I would say. And this was early in the year, last year, when I started figuring out how it applied to my golf game.
Okay.
And so what you do is she would say, look, before you get into one of these high stress situations, you need to take a deep breath and while you're taking that deep breath, let it out and sort of think about what is going on in your head at the moment. Take note of it, right? Take an inventory of what's happening in your head. And then you take another deep breath and you clear it out and you think about what you're feeling physically, right? What are the physical sensations that you have in your body at the moment?
Okay.
And then you take another deep breath and you start thinking about, well, what are you feeling emotionally? Right? That's different than what's going on in your head, but what are your emotional state, right?
Yep.
And take an inventory of those things.
Yep.
And you can quickly go through this routine of just 3 deep breaths. And on the golf course, I realized it was things like just feeling how soft the ground was under my feet or not.
Okay.
As a physical sensation. I may feel like, wow, I feel a little cool breeze on me, or man, that it's hot in this golf cart. And I can think and be present in a moment thinking about that. The same thing about my mental side is what's going on in my head right now about what I'm focused on.
Yep.
Do I have a lot of work stress going on? How do I snap and clear that stuff out of there? And then trying to check in emotionally about, well, how do I feel about how the day is going? What am I feeling about myself in the round? And what it caused me to do, Sean and Tim, is it caused me to get so present and in the moment that I got addicted to doing this while I was playing golf. Like I would hit a shot, and I would either sit in the cart or I'd be walking to the next shot, and I would just take some time and do one of those presence checks. I might not do all of them. I might just do one of them.
Yep.
Right? And it's crazy because early in the year, my one of my best friends, Jim Prokosh, who I served with years ago in the military, we're great friends, and we served together over 30 years ago. I was telling him how much I was struggling with my game, and he goes, "Man, you just need to stop thinking about it and just swing the golf club."
Right.
And so I started getting present with myself, and my handicap, I was that time I was like a 5.6. It actually climbed up to a 7 something. And from the point that I started focusing on this in my rounds of golf, my handicap dropped to at one point a 3.9.
Wow.
Nice. Yep.
With no swing changes.
Right. No equipment changes, no ball changes, no YouTube videos, no.
That's amazing.
Greatest fix of the month.
That's great.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just all in the mental game for me. And to be completely transparent and honest, I had gotten away from it. Right?
Yep.
So you start feeling the success, you get a little lazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I started drifting away from it.
Yep.
And so I recently just recommitted myself to being present in the moment. And once again, because Jim told me to stop thinking about it.
Right.
And when I say stop thinking about it, it doesn't seem like it makes sense to be present in the moment and stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in the quality of the things that you think about. And that, thinking about 50 different mechanical thoughts when you're standing over a golf ball is completely the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's get to a state where you feel good, and the only thing you really care about is the target.
That's it.
And just relax and let your natural athletic ability and all that work that you do on the range actually take over.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself in like a meditation state when you're doing this, basically? Is that what you'd say?
Yeah. I would say it's shy of meditation, but it's just focusing on being present and in the moment. And it only takes me maybe 30 seconds to go through one of those presence checks. And I might do one between each shot, but it's really just focusing on being there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Just being there, not on the range.
I feel like we could talk about this for an hour. I'll try to keep it to 10 more minutes or 15 more minutes because I love this stuff. Because John and T-Mac, like, people come to us all the time like, hey, I want to break 90, right? I want to break 100.
Yeah.
Well, yes, there is absolutely some physical things that need to happen to break 100 or break 90.
Correct.
The yardage has to be a certain yardage. Your short game has to be a short game.
Correct.
But the way that you go, I think the hardest thing is to go from the 5 handicap to the 0 handicap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's the clipping one stroke off per year, per 6 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's these little incremental things like you're talking about. Like, hey, you do have the right equipment, you do have the right putter length, you've got the wedges set up. Like all your equipment's good.
Yeah.
Now you've got to, you can't be changing your swing like you say, John. So there's just such a tremendous, like almost void of this type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say personally, when I run golf tournaments, I typically run the golf tournament that I'm working at the golf course. Okay. And then I usually like to try to play in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say I haven't played with you in an event, John, yet. But to me, it takes me 2 to 3 holes to even get close to what I normally do on the golf course before. You know what I'm saying, John? Like, because you get all these questions prior to the right?
You're right, yeah.
to the event, so your mind is total. So you get up there on the first tee, and it's not thinking about the ground, thinking about the wind, you're totally thinking about, why did that guy ask me that stupid question 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Why couldn't he have gotten his money into me earlier?
Yeah.
I set it up on Facebook. I've seen it happen to you. Like I've set the entire thing up on, try to give them all the information, and they don't read the sign. Yeah. Whatever the sign is.
God.
Right?
Yeah.
So
it's funny because my tournament partner Greg Aiken, he actually taught me a lot about how to play years ago when we first started playing. I mean, he was a big inspiration to me. But we're tournament partners now, and so we're on this in the Tour Championship last year, and the online scoring was not working.
Right. Oof.
And and so I'm getting texts on my phone at the same time this is happening, and we were on the green with a birdie putt, and I'm sitting in the cart trying to fix it. I said, "Get your tail over here! I don't care about that online scoring thing." Focus on your game. But it is hard when you're trying to organize an event, and also it's just a testament to not letting things rattle around in your head.
Right. Yeah. It's
like getting a phone call about when you're in the middle of
work.
Getting ready to tee off.
I play very poorly at my own golf course because I can't get rid of the eyesight of looking, oh my gosh, why is this guy driving around the bunker?
Yeah, he just drove over the green to the tee box.
Just all the things. So I play way better when I'm away from the golf course. And then, like you said, now, the phone still rings. We're still attached to the world, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's different. So again, I think there's a tremendous amount of talk about there. I think the simple things that the viewers or listeners can take from this would be pre-shot routine. Have one. We've talked about it before. Figure out what yours is. But again, the best players that I play with are not kind of consistent with their pre-shot routine. They are perfectly to the second with their pre-shot routine. And I don't care if you're. And again, we play in different formats. So this afternoon, I'm going to play in a little 4-player scramble fun event, couples group, whatever it is. That's going to be a totally different focus point than it is when I play on the Tampa Bay 2-man tour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we try to think we're going to step up there and do our pre-shot routine, but we're worried about other things.
Phone going
how's
off,
the pace of play,
radio, going,
all that stuff. Right?
All that happening.
So just that perspective of, have the same pre-shot routine every single time. I think I can do that part of it, which is probably the way you described it, John, the physical part. But I don't do very well at the mental part because I am preoccupied with the other things going on as I'm at work. That's the thing. I am at work. I'm not just like these other 70 people. They're just coming out here to enjoy their day. This is my job. So I'm hoping that they have a good time. So emotionally, and then the emotion side is, I'll just make this a quick story. Came in playing in the Zephyr Hills Open 8 or 10 years ago, right? I just come in for a drink after 9 holes, right? All the players are out. I'm the last group out, so I just came in for a drink to get a Gatorade or something. Hot afternoon, and one of the players asks me one of those stupid, dumb ruling questions, right? Because I am the tournament committee guy too. So, but he says, "Hey, how come he got this relief when he should have gotten this relief? That's not fair," whatever that thing is. And I blew up. Like I literally kicked the door down. I'm like, ask me in 2 hours. It doesn't matter right now. I'm in the middle of my round. And you need to,
crazy, man.
You want to kind of separate yourself. But anyway, so dealing with the emotions, and you see this on tour all the time. Right? Yeah. I mean, Jason Day, like his pre-shot routine with his breathing.
Yes. He closes his eyes too, doesn't he?
Closes his eyes, visualization.
Adam Scott would put the hand on the grip. Same time, I watched him yesterday doing the same thing he's done last 10 years, I think. How Jordan Spieth approaches a putt. He looks twitchy. He looks very twitchy until he goes. But there's a routine. There's a method behind it. He's a talker, right? He's always talking to his caddy. Right? That's the way he does it. That's the way he's always talking. But then Tiger was more of leave me alone on the green.
Well, Tiger, I picked up on something from him the other day that I'd heard him say this a lot, but I never really figured out what he meant. And I kind of did a little research on it, but his routine is sort of a silent one. He talks about, you've heard him talk about putting to the picture.
Right, correct.
And what he's basically saying there is that he stands over his putt and he he looks at his line, he looks at the hole, and he takes a mental picture of that. It's like a photograph in his mind.
Yep.
And when he stands over the putt, instead of him chasing the ball with his eyes and trying to see if it went, he putts to the picture and keeps his head there. And it's part of his routine.
Yeah.
And I was actually struggling with so many mechanics on the, overthinking my golf swing. I started swinging to the picture, right? Just
there you go.
Looking out there at that at the hole and where the pin is, where my target was, and keeping that in my mind while I was making my golf swing, and it made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. And he was taught that at like 3, 4, 5 years old by his dad. When you read his book, that's something he's been doing literally since he was 4 or 5 years old.
And then he got Jay Brunzer, I think, to do the meditation at 10 or something like that. So.
And that's an ex-Marine, by the way, right? Earl Woods was an ex-Marine, as far as I know.
He was
Army.
Beret.
Army. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean. Not similar.
He might rise to the level of Marine.
Yeah, exactly, but still pretty good. Yeah, exactly. But it goes to the mental approach that that you're talking about. Like you said, you were in the greatest training program ever, type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's so. Hey.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. One last question. How long did it take for you to get comfortable with that routine? Was it a couple days, a month, a week, an hour?
Oh, I think it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I think anything in the mental game, and again, I don't think this whole presence thing is not just about golf. It's a life thing.
Sure.
And it's just, golf is a microcosm of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? It shows how you handle disappointment and stress. And that's why it's one of the best places to interview somebody, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
That's interesting.
that is it's just that I had to say, wait a minute, this is part of my life. I'm going to apply this technique to this, and it's a constant thing. Like I can't tell you I'm as disciplined at it as I need to be yet, but it's always a work in progress where I'm trying to do more and more of that, and just sort of being in the moment and enjoying what I'm doing and trying to be in a positive frame of mind. But it is not the same as thinking about it. That's a difference.
Yeah.
It's being in the moment is not thinking.
It's getting out of the way of yourself is how you hear some athletes describe it. Like, just get out of the way. Like, just let your natural tendencies take over. You've done the work. You've done the practice. You've put in the effort. The people who don't put in the effort, put in the work, put in the practice, those are the people that struggle with the breaking 100 and breaking 90.
Absolutely.
And that's what, sometimes we talk about with some of our students, like, you don't realize how many chip shots I've hit in my entire lifetime.
Correct.
Right? It wasn't, I didn't just become good. Like, we put the work into it. Let just, I know the first event I believe is filled up, but we'll kind of give people the rundown on how to get in touch with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me do that. So we run the group off of a Facebook group, but you can get there pretty quickly I've just redirected our URL to that Facebook page, and it's TB Tango Bravo in military speak, 2man. So it's tb2man.com.
Okay.
The number 2.
Yep.
TB, the number 2man.com, all one word.
Yep.
And that'll take you to our Facebook group, and you'll see the schedule there. And a lot of the player's handbook is there, a link to it, and that's how I communicate with the members on tee times, etc. We're trying to expand the first event because it's full. I think I limit the fields to 24 teams, but we're at 28, so I'm starting to expand that field out a little bit on that 21 on the 24th of March at Plantation Palms.
That's good stuff. Good. So and I know how good you are on Facebook, like how you keep posting up and keep the posts up and stuff. So definitely let the golfers know about the Dynamic Golf Podcast. I know you will.
Please do,
because now you're a star veteran of the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. But we really appreciate you coming on, John. I think it's been great fun, and maybe we'll check in with you during the summer, see how the tour is going.
Yeah,
man. Hey, okay. I appreciate you guys bringing me on, and Sean, I hope to see you soon, bud.
All right,
take care.
Sounds
Thank
good,
you,
John.
Sean.
See you, man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Like that one?
That was good.
That was good, right?
That was good. I was listening to that conversation, especially when you started talking about the mental coach and staying present. I mean, it kind of goes back to what you were kind of talking about earlier or last week when you said, I was under, I was like 10 under or 8 under at one point, right? And then your buddy 6 holes in goes, hey, you're 6 under or something like that, right? That whole staying in the present moment just went poof, right? And then we start getting this whole looking to the future, right?
What's the score going to be at the end?
What's it going to be? We're just holding on, right? We're like, just end it right now, right? So I think that was great. I really found myself listening to that part of it, saying, that's, you've got to stay present. And, it kind of goes back to with my little girl, the teachers say, when you get mad, count to 3, right? And it's just a different form of it, count to 3, figure out these checklists that you have, and it just, gives you that 3-4 seconds to say, listen, before I just shit, take a little check in, see what's going on, and then kind of go from there. So
we had some good stuff there the last 5 minutes.
Absolutely. I was ready to go with that. So maybe we might have to start talking to her, make